don't have an agenda.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Unity of Livonia, a Course in Miracles study group. Glad to have everybody here. It is Tuesday, January 23rd, and another year is on the roll, right?
Yes.
So I think we've kind of got the old gang here, but we do have one new member joining us tonight, and her name is Julie, and she's from out in California. She's been doing A Course in Miracles for a while, but as she was telling us before we started the recording, she's been at it a while, but not sure she's quite got it yet. So she's back for more. And I had to kind of smile when I heard her say, I'm not sure I've gotten it yet, because how long have we all been doing this? And there's still this element of uncertainty that brings us back again each week. It just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And so what I found, like the Course says, basically is that the words don't change, but what changes over time is me. And so I read the same words with greater understanding than I did the year before. Don't most of you feel that way also?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, the old joke, I tell people I've been doing A Course in Miracles for over 20 years, and they say you must be a really slow reader. And that's not it, though, is it? We know what's really going on. It's very compelling, life-changing, and things like that. Before we get into the agenda, are there any comments or questions any of you have, or anything you want to share before we get started? Okay. Well, let's move into our agenda for the evening. As usual, we start out, hold on, let me just ask Julie, did you get a copy of our study schedule?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Gina sent it. Yes.
Oh, great. Is it totally Greek to you?
I just wasn't sure which book to use. The blue book. I have the A Course in Miracles combined volume.
From Foundation for Inner Peace?
I believe, yes.
Okay.
So I have that, or I also have the original edition text, the smaller book with the black one with the pearls on it.
Yes. We use only the FIP version throughout, so it'll be the blue book, okay?
Okay.
And I won't go into a lot of discussion about that schedule now, Julie, but please feel free to send me an email or give me a call. I'd be happy to arrange to go over it with you in greater detail.
Okay.
But it follows the book very closely and is essentially designed to cover the body of A Course in Miracles in 12 months from cover to cover. So that's the method to the madness. If you need more explanation, don't hesitate to reach out to me and I'll help you with that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Jim, this Marianne, I didn't get it either. I didn't get the agenda and also the study guide. Since I just joined, maybe you sent it out
Sure.
before. I'm not sure. Or maybe I missed it. I don't know.
I'll try and send it to you right now, okay?
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect.
I'll
Okay,
send it,
great.
Jim, while we're
Yeah.
going.
Thank
Wonderful.
you very kindly. Thank you. Well, listen, as I was starting or explaining to Julie, we are following that reading schedule, and it's basically predicated on doing one chapter in the text a week and one lesson a day. Now, there'll be some variation as we really get into it, but to give you the overall thinking. So we had our first meeting of the new year on January. Ooh.
2 weeks ago.
Yes. We've had 2 sessions in 2024, right? So tonight's our 3rd session. So tonight we're on chapter 3 in the text, but last week we were on chapter 2. So I always like to give everybody an opportunity to ask questions or make comments on what we studied the previous week. So long story short, are there any questions on the text chapter 3 from last week? Or I think we were on text, or rather workbook lesson 8. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Okay, questions, comments on anything that you did last week? No. What was the title of the chapter last week? Let's take a look here.
Revelation, time and miracles.
Well, the name of the chapter was the separation and the atonement, right?
Yes.
That's chapter 2.
Yes. And so we're reviewing chapter 2 before we start chapter 3 tonight, you see? So the separation and the atonement. We had a chance last week to spend some time with that, and boy, there were 8 sections to that. Was that helpful in understanding why it's called the separation and the atonement? You know, I'm headed up to putting somebody on the spot. So let's do it. What does Jesus mean by entitling that chapter, The Separation and the Atonement? Well, I'll try and put it this way, and it's not all that obvious because remember we said the first several chapters of the course seem to be rather vague and unrefined compared to the later chapters. And those later chapters where Jesus gets that iambic pentameter going, and it gets more beautiful instead of ambiguous and puzzling. But the way I see chapter 2 in essence is he's describing the problem and telling us what the solution is. Do you agree?
Okay.
The separation is the problem. What's the solution?
The atonement is the correction of error.
Okay. So the problem was separation, the idea that we're separate and apart from each other. And the atonement is getting rid of those crazy ideas. And if we could undo the craziness, there's a restoration, a realization of what never happened. Separation is a mistake, is it not, according to the Course?
Okay.
And how do you solve that problem?
By realizing it never happened.
And stop acting from separation and act how instead? From oneness? Yes? What is healing? We just came out of the summer supplements, the Song of Prayer, psychotherapy. What is healing, my friends? Starts with a W. Wholeness. Okay? If we would just restore our oneness, all of our problems would be solved. And so that's what this course is intended to help us to do, is to heal our minds by correcting errors in our thinking. Why is it important to correct errors in our thinking? Because thought don't. Say it again.
What we think is what we believe.
Well, why is it important not to believe crazy stuff? Because
crazy stuff is not true.
And if you think it's true, you have free will, the hallmark of love. So whatever you think is true becomes true for you. It may not be true in reality, but if enough of us start thinking a certain way, you know, our thoughts manifest, right?
Right.
So do you see why we have to be careful with our thoughts? Now, we're not there yet tonight, but remember lesson 16 says, I have no neutral thoughts. So you just can't be out there thinking all willy-nilly when you have a power like ours, because our thoughts make stuff. Yes?
Yes.
So you have to be careful with an incredible power like that. We find out the details about this going forward. What is it? We got 1,200 pages to go, right? Something like that. But he's setting out in these early chapters some fundamental issues, but they're described in such a deep way, it's hard to grasp them in a simple way. But that's what I'm trying to offer to help you to see how this book is being put together. So he starts out by talking about what is the problem, and what is that again?
Separation.
And what is the solution? To stop thinking we're separate. The correction of errors in thinking will produce true stuff, just like erroneous thoughts produce erroneous stuff. How am I doing?
Sounds good.
All right. Now, next time I ask you guys, somebody step on up, okay? All right. Listen, that was chapter 2. Julie, are you with us so far? Oh, she's on mute. All right.
Yes, I'm
Okay. All right. Yeah, you'll need a fast trigger finger for this group, my friend. But
so I'm ahead of you guys as far as the daily lessons go, because I started over.
on January 1st. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm ahead in that regard, but haven't been reading like a portion of the text every day, so I'll try to get on board with that.
All right. Now, get on board with it as you're, excuse me. Get on board with it as you're led to do, but don't put a lot of pressure on yourself to keep up. You don't have to read all of this from beginning to end, but with the right mindset, whatever you read is going to take us to the same place.
Okay, thank you.
Do me a favor. You got your book there, your blue book?
Yes.
Can you open it to lesson 1 in the workbook, Julie?
Sure. Yes, lesson 1.
And read the last sentence at the last paragraph, last sentence.
A comfortable sense of leisure is essential.
All right. So we're not going to get this by rushing into it and, oh, I need to keep up and blah, blah, blah. Relax. We got to relax into this. We're not going to be out striving and grabbing, but we're going to focus on staying open and relaxed. And the message comes through a lot better, okay?
Okay, thank
So
you.
catch up as you can, but a sense of leisure is essential to getting the most out of this material. All right. So is there anything else as far as our review period? Then following the agenda, the next item is our workbook lesson. And we're on lesson 15. And that is on page 25 in the workbook for students. And why don't we go ahead and get our reading list together? Now, Julie, we just go through and like read a paragraph. So we just put a list together. Is there anyone who does not want to read tonight? All right, then Gina is reader 1 and Julie reader 2, Marianne 3, Frank is 4, Joan 5, Ron 6, and Hildegard is 7. If that's okay, we're on page 15 in the work.
I think Hildegard said she didn't want to.
Oh, really? Okay. All right, so I got that correction made. Thank you. So without further ado, Gina, let's get started here. Okay.
Lesson 15.
Oh,
my
one more thing. Excuse the interruption, Gina. Julie, we always include a meditation period with each lesson. So we'll read the lesson and then I'll put on some music and give us a chance to meditate on what we've just read, okay?
Okay, sounds nice.
Thank you, ma'am. Gina?
Lesson 15. My thoughts are images that I have made. It is because the thoughts you think appear as images that you do not recognize them as nothing. You think them, and so you think you see them. This is how your seeing was made. This is the function you have given your body's eyes. It is not seeing, it is image making. It takes the place of seeing, replacing vision with illusions.
All right.
This introductory idea to the process of image making that you call seeing will not have much meaning for you. You will begin to understand it when you have seen little edges of light around the same familiar objects which you see now. That is the beginning. That is the beginning of real vision. You can be certain that real vision will come quickly when this has occurred.
So let's just stop for 1 minute and see what you guys think about the first couple of paragraphs here. You've done this lesson before, but what's it saying? These 2 paragraphs.
Well,
My thoughts are the images that I have made. You know, if Gina thinks the same way, may get a totally different image.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like and that's how sometimes people react to somebody based on their image, on their interpretation, and you have no clue what they're reacting to.
I guess you would think that would get pretty confusing,
It does.
society as a whole. Yes?
Mhm. Yes, and that we believe that what we see is real.
So he's saying that what we see isn't real?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's just in what we think we see.
How much? All of it is not real that we see?
It's a projection from my own mind,
Right.
but it's not the reality of what is.
All right. So your projections, Frank, are unreal, but surely Gina's projections are real. I mean, look at her.
No.
She's got credible. She's
No, it's none of it's real. The only thing that gets me here in this is when we start to see the little edges of light around these familiar objects, and then we're seeing real. So, it just makes me a little curious. Does the object still is it still have an object shape? Is it just, that's where my head goes, because I don't spend a lot of time seeing that. So
yeah.
I'm still seeing the not real, basically.
That used to puzzle me also about seeing these little edges of light around familiar objects. And I used to say, that never happened to me. But my friends, it did. I remember whether I was inside, but most, like in the summertime, I'd be out on the patio, and I live on a lake, okay? And there are trees, and it's kind of a park-like atmosphere. And I used to sit out there, and there was this way I could kind of focus my eyes, and you'd see halos around the trees. Or you could pick a certain branch, and it would start sparkling. And it didn't last long. it was like a period, maybe of a few weeks. And not that I even did it every day during that period. But now that I look back on it, I went through a phase like that. And when I stopped seeing it, I didn't really think about it that much. But in my experience, that did happen, and it helped me to get my head on straight when he said something like, they won't last. Didn't he say it won't last long?
I don't know if we have got to that part yet.
All right. Well, let's keep reading then. Maybe that's a good reason to continue unless you have more comments. Anybody? Mary Ann, would you continue?
As we go along, you may have many light episodes. They may take many different forms, some of them quite unexpected. Do not be afraid of them. They are signs that you're opening your eyes at last. They will not persist because they merely symbolize true perception and they are not related to knowledge. These exercises will not reveal knowledge to you, but they will prepare the way to it.
Yeah, he said they won't last all that long, but just notice them. There was this book by, is it Robert Redfield? The Celestine Prophecy. Have any of you heard of that?
Yes.
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, I have, but it's a long time
Okay.
ago.
You remember the segment in there when he started seeing these light episodes and the light edges around the flowers and plants and things like that in the book and in the movie? Maybe because I had just watched those things or read the book, made me predisposed to seeing light edges when I was doing my lessons. I don't know, but as I look back on it, I do remember seeing it. Anybody else have light episodes? Well, think about it a bit, and maybe you didn't even. Frank, you had a comment, sir?
Yeah, if that had happened, I'll be meditating, and then I start seeing a light around in my mind, and I thought, what's happening to me?
Oh boy, this is getting deep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I thought it was just in my mind, but it was maybe a spiritual thing.
Let me tell you here, I've done this one before, but let me show you. Go to lesson 129 with me, okay? 129. And specifically, it's on page 235 in the workbook for students.
Good.
So if you're at 235, now turn the page to 236, because that's the part. Let me just read it to you, Frank, okay?
Okay.
I'll start at paragraph 7. It begins, practice your willingness. Do you all see it?
Yes.
Practice your willingness to make this change. Gina, will you let Cheryl in?
Yes.
Practice your willingness to make this change 10 minutes in the morning and at night, and once more in between. Begin with this. Beyond this world, there is a world I want. I choose to see that world instead of this, for here is nothing that I really want. Then close your eyes upon the world you see, and in the silent darkness, Watch the lights that are not of this world light one by one, until where one begins, another ends, loses all meaning as they blend into one. Today the lights of heaven bend to you to shine upon your eyelids as you rest beyond the world of darkness. Here is light your eyes cannot behold, and yet your mind can see it plainly and can understand. A day of grace is given you today, and we give thanks. This day we realize that what you feared to lose was only loss. Now, that's a bit out of specific context to what you're describing, Frank, because it's in the context of this lesson, right? That's called Beyond This World, There Is a World I Want. But let me tell you why it's so notable in my head. I remember I had been trying to meditate for about a year. This is back in 2001. And I was sitting, it wasn't even dark. I was sitting in a parking lot at a hospital waiting on my girlfriend to come out. Okay. And all of a sudden, in the center of my head, I started seeing this little shiny light. And since I first saw it, I've never not seen it when I close my eyes. I mean, it was a little scary. Like I'd be in the shower in the morning and my eyes were closed, and there's this light in my head, and it would be something, it could be a pinpoint or it could expand and give off these rays. And sometimes it got like during meditation, you know how you try and keep your eyes closed? Whatever this was would even pop my eyelids open. Yep, something happened to me, folks. But when I hear him start talking about this inner light and things like that, I've had some experiences with this sort of thing. Y'all have any comments? Okay. Welcome, Sherilyn. It's good to see you here, sister. Did you unmute yourself, Sherilyn? Is she here?
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Oh, no, forgive me, folks. Bear
That's
with
right.
me a minute here.
I've got it.
Okay, good deal. Well, I just want to say a special welcome to you, Miss White, and glad you're
Thank
back
you.
with us. It's been a little while. You are now not in Georgia, but back in Michigan?
No, I'm living in Novi.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you back. Some difficult circumstances, but
Yes.
I just wanted to say hi and again offer you our comfort and peace. And
Thank you very much. And I
and
want to thank you for your prayers.
absolutely, dear. Listen, did you get a chance? Do you know where we are? Specifically on lesson 15 in the
Yeah.
workbook for
Oh,
students. And
okay.
it's on page 25. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got you down as reader number 7 after Ron, if you want to read tonight. Is that okay?
Okay, I got to find my book. It might not have been unpacked yet. I know where the old one is, though.
Well, we'll give you a chance to do that. And by the time we get to reader 7, maybe she'll find her book, right? All right.
Okay. I've got
Frank,
the old one here.
all right. Frank, thank you for your comments. What'd you think of that lesson 129 about seeing these lights in your head?
I thought I was having some kind of strange spiritual experience.
Yes, you were, sir.
But I was enjoying it.
And it's always enjoyable, you know. Anyhow, let's get on. We're on paragraph 3, aren't we?
We finished 3.
Before we continue, Julie had her hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Before-
Go ahead, Julie.
You still have something to share with us?
I didn't have my hand up.
No?
No?
No, I just put in the chat cool when
Oh,
Oh,
Reverend
okay.
White was
Okay, I got it.
describing.
like an emoji thing. I saw that as well. All right.
Thank you.
Well, having said that, we're up to Marianne, paragraph.
Marianne read already.
Well, let me get myself together. Frank?
I'm number
Number
4.
4.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, please, sir.
Number 4, in practicing the idea for today, repeat it first to yourself and then apply it to whatever you see around you, using its name and letting your eyes rest on it as you say, this blank is an image that I have made. This blank is an image that I have made. It is not necessary to include a large number of specific subjects for the application of today's idea. It is necessary, however, to continue to look at each subject while you repeat the idea to yourself. The idea should be repeated quite slowly each time.
Thank you, Frank. And let's finish it up here. Paragraph 5, that goes to Joan.
Okay. Although you will obviously not be able to apply the idea to very many things during the minute or so of practice that is recommended, try to make the selection as random as possible. Less than a minute will do for the practice periods. If you begin to feel uneasy, do not have more than 3 application periods for today's idea unless you feel completely comfortable with it, and do not exceed 4. However, the idea can be applied as needed throughout the day.
Comments from anyone? Then why don't we take a few minutes for meditation and then see where we are on the subject of my thoughts are images I have made. So I'll share a screen so I can put on a little music behind us here. And, you know, there we are. My thoughts are images I have made. Let's take a few minutes with that. My thoughts are images that I have made. Hey, Gina, Unmute
Yes.
yourself so we can talk. You know, my goal is to become a Zoom expert like you, right? Right? So how do you turn everybody's video back on?
I believe they have to themselves. You can ask them.
Okay, would everyone turn your video back on? I thought there was some cool way to just do it in mass.
It says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. So you stopped all of us.
All right, I know figures I'm gonna get in trouble here. So, Mary,
That's what mine
are
said.
you the only one that's not working? Mary
Yeah,
Ann?
mine says the co-host has asked you to start your video. Okay, now start my video. Okay,
Oh, okay.
there you go.
Now,
You pushed the right button.
I think Gina made that happen, didn't you, Gina?
I mute everyone. I
Yeah.
do
But-
not think I turned everybody's video off, but
Okay, I did
did.
that individually during the meditation period
Oh,
to play around with it to see if I could do it.
you were supposed to be meditating.
I know I'm doing technical stuff. You had to bring
yeah,
that
I
up.
mute everyone so we don't
Sorry.
accidentally get a bunch of background noise to disrupt us.
Right. All right. So listen, I think the best thing for me to do is to move on. All right. My thoughts are images that I have made. Does that mean that my thoughts are not thoughts?
For you, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe I've been misinformed about what thoughts are. Is that the implication? Is that my thoughts are not thoughts, they are images that I made?
That's what it seems to say to me.
And he says, it is because the thoughts you think appear as images, you don't recognize them as nothing. You think them, and so you think you see what you are thinking. But he seems to be implying that my thoughts are not really thoughts, they're images.
Mhm.
Whew. That's shocking, right?
Right.
So if what we're doing with quote unquote thinking is image making, are there any real thoughts?
Doesn't sound like it.
Do you remember in one of the review lessons, it has the refrain, my mind holds only what I think with God? My mind holds only what I think with God. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
I think where he's getting ready to go with this is the only real thinking we do are thoughts that we think with God. What do you think about that? And don't make any images. No, I'm just okay. All
That's
right.
what the course says.
So you see how in these early sections, it's about getting rid of errors, right? It's like cleaning house, right? Now, Joan, what is the atonement again?
The correction of errors. So
And-
the separation is not real, it's an
A
error.
correction of errors in thinking.
Mhm.
So do you see how this is actually going on? You're seeing it right from the beginning. First, we're going to have to clean house of everything you thought was real or was powerful or was non-illusory. So that's the first thing. Now, what happens when you clean house? Will you have an empty house?
You just clean what's there.
So if I clean house, wouldn't I have an empty house?
No, you're only ridding yourself
Necessary.
of the junk. Or not
And
necessary
so what
things.
would I have when I rid myself of the junk?
Your
clean house.
thoughts, your images. Your images,
So what happens if I get rid of the images?
Then it's empty.
Blank.
Ah, so see, I'm tricking you again.
but we weren't supposed to get rid of the images. We were creating them. We were supposed to get rid of the thoughts, change them to images, right? So
Well,
the images should be in the house.
Thoughts will make images consistent with what the thoughts are about.
Okay.
The only thoughts that can be real are the thoughts I think with God.
Yeah.
But they've been covered over by other stuff.
Yes.
I'm going to start out cleaning the house of that junk.
Yeah.
And what I'll have then is the real house, the real orderly stuff. Remember on page 1 in the text, it says something like, the purpose of this course is not to teach the meaning of love because that is beyond what can be taught.
God, yeah.
So what is the purpose of this course?
To clear the
Removal to the
obstacle.
blocks, to the
To
awareness
remove
of
the
love's
blocks
presence.
to your awareness of reality. Do you see how we're setting the tone by talking about the way we think now?
Mm-hmm.
And how the way we're thinking now has consequences that don't benefit us.
That's right.
The thing about free will is you got to really love somebody to give them free will. So you're free, kids, to think whatever you like. But remember, you have no neutral thoughts, and thoughts bring consequences. So when you start thinking thoughts that are not the thoughts of God, the author of reality, what I'm thinking is producing garbage. We call them illusions, right? So, I'm going further, but do you see how these things are being introduced early on that bring into question all that we think we know? What is the fundamental complicating factor that makes illusions out of all we think we know? Because everything we think is based on separation.
Mhm.
At the fundamental level, there's an error. So what else could it produce but error? So here's where we have to work on the idea that you think you are an individual, that you are separate from one another. In my book, right, we talk about God's kids and the tiny mad idea of separation. Into eternity where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. And look what the hell happened. Somehow we thought the idea of separate heavens would be really cool, right? I mean, we're little kids, we're powerful, we can do whatever we want. And so it is. You can do whatever you want, but there is a responsibility that goes with those thoughts. Or maybe I should say consequences that come.
Yeah.
Thoughts. Do you see how this is going to be a course in retraining our minds?
Yes.
Comments, more comments on lesson 15. All right, you feeling good about it?
Got it.
All right, why don't we take a look at what was assigned on our reading schedule for today from the text. And we only had one section of chapter 3 to do. And that is on page 36 in the text. And the section, well, the chapter is called The Innocent Perception. Do you all see it?
Yes.
And we were to do Romans 1, atonement without sacrifice. And I have Ron as the next reader. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right, let's do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Roman numeral 1 is atonement without sacrifice. A further point must be perfectly clear before any residual fears associated with miracles can disappear. The crucifixion did not establish the atonement. The resurrection did. Many sincere Christians have misunderstood this. No one who is free of the belief in scarcity could possibly make this mistake. If the crucifixion is seen from an upside down point of view, it does appear as if God permitted and even encouraged one of his sons to suffer because he was good. This particularly unfortunate interpretation, which arose out of projection, has led many people to be bitterly afraid of God. Such anti-religious concepts enter into many religions. Yet the real Christian should pause and ask, how could this be? Is it likely that God himself would be capable of the kind of thinking which his own words have clearly stated is unworthy of his son?
So let's come back to that question, but let's do one more paragraph, okay? Sherilyn, you got your book? You want?
I'm on it. I'm on it. Yep. The best defense, as always, is not to attack another's position, but rather to protect the truth. It is unwise to accept any concept if you have to invert a whole frame of reference in order to justify it. This procedure is painful in its minor applications and genuinely tragic on a wider scale. Persecution frequently results in an attempt to justify the terrible misperception that God himself persecuted his own son on behalf of salvation. The very words are meaningless. It has been particularly difficult to overcome this because, although the error itself is no harder to correct than any other, many have been unwilling to give it up in view of its prominent value as a defense. In milder forms, a parent says, "This hurts me more than it hurts you," and feels exonerated in beating a child. Can you believe our Father really thinks this way? It is so essential that all such thinking be dispelled that we must be sure that nothing of this kind remains in your mind. I was not punished because you were bad. The wholly benign lesson of the atonement teaches is lost if it is tainted with this kind of distortion in any form.
All right, thank you. Well, we've got a lot to consider here. What are some of the things that stand out in these two paragraphs to you? Is there anything that was new to you from reading A Course in Miracles?
Yes.
Like,
I've been struggling with this past couple of years. The fact that the Bible makes God sound so dreadful and punishing and predicting awful things that will happen, that I just couldn't accept all of this when they talk about all the revelations. That can't be a God that's loving and caring.
yeah,
And so I went looking elsewhere, and I bought a huge, heavy Bible that must weigh 5 pounds, and it cost me $50. And
Wow.
it says all of that stuff in it, and it has all kinds of explanations of everything, but I haven't even opened it since I brought it home. Well, twice I opened it and looked at it. But
yeah.
it said the same things that my Bible, which I got for my wedding many years ago, said. And I just could not accept it. But ACIM makes sense to me.
Yeah. Let me just ask all of you, in truth, did the idea that, in my old church, I grew up in the Black Baptist church, and the preacher would say, God is good. And we'd say all the time. And yet in the back of my mind, I'm going, okay, God is good all the time, despite the fact that to give us salvation, to help us, he would have to murder his own. And wait a minute, it wasn't just the regular son, it was the perfect, immaculate son that didn't come from us earth dwellers, if you will, but he had to send his own special son to die for us and suffer that I might be saved. So the way to salvation is through suffering, right?
That's what they say.
So here the Course asks, how could this be in paragraph 1? Is it likely that God himself would be capable of this kind of thinking? How can love think this way? Well,
I can't believe
we never asked about it. We never brought it up. I was just young and a kid. I didn't want to rock the boat. I'm sure they knew more about this than I did.
Mhm.
And like you, Sherilyn, back in 2001, when I opened A Course in Miracles and first heard this, it felt like it was confirming. Now that makes more sense. So, are you saying that Jesus didn't come to die for our sins?
Yeah,
Yes,
Is that what is being said here or will be further discussed?
yes, I think so. I believe that.
So if I'm seeing you, Julie, thank you. So if Jesus didn't come to die for our sins, what was the purpose according to Jesus writing in this book? Why did Jesus come?
show us the truth.
Yeah,
And that truth is what?
That there's no death.
And we are one with him.
yes.
Yes. And how did he show us? According to the Jesus story, how did he show us? How did he demonstrate it?
Perfect example of love.
For the resurrection.
I'm sorry, say I heard Frank say,
A perfect example of love.
okay. And Hilda, how did he demonstrate it?
The resurrection, that he became, that he did not die.
Okay, so let me ask y'all a question, okay? I've been asking this question for years. Is Jesus dead?
No,
No,
Nobody's ever said Jesus is dead. What's up with that? But you watch the news every day and believe those people are dead. What's so special about Jesus? The answer is, as he told us repeatedly during his sojourn here, is nothing is special about me. Oh, Lord. Go to page 7 in the text with me right quick, okay? Page 7. And it's in this section called Revelation, Time, and Miracles. Let me see if I can get to the part in context that I'm to make my point. I'm in paragraph 3, sentence 3. Y'all see it?
mm-hmm.
Starts, equals should not be in awe of one another because awe implies inequality. It is therefore an inappropriate reaction to me. An elder brother is entitled to respect for his greater experience and obedience for his greater wisdom. He is also entitled to love because he is a brother, and to devotion if he is devoted. It is only my devotion that entitles me to yours. Now, here it is. There is nothing about me that you cannot attain. I have nothing that does not come from God. The difference between us now is that I have nothing else. This leaves me in a state which is only potential in you.
Mm-hmm.
So is Jesus dead?
no.
Is he like special?
No,
And that
we
was my
are all.
mission. It was not to die for you or anything else. There is no death. Stop believing the news. You did it for me. I'm no different from you, he says. So I came to demonstrate to you that you can't be killed. I came to demonstrate to you that you are sinless. And I'll show you, just like me, I'm invulnerable. I'm eternal. Just like who?
You,
Okay.
That was the message that the course taught me that I had never heard before. And he goes into more detail about this in chapter 6, the section that starts out with the message of the crucifixion. So is that helpful in terms of what we were talking about?
yes,
Uh,
yes.
All right, good deal.
What
Let's
am I gonna do with that $50 Bible? Oh, dear.
I mean, has it got an attractive cover or the color?
No, it's kind of plain. It's I can't remember who the author or the
All right.
person who developed it was, but I'll bring it next week and show you how big it is. I can't even lift it.
Well, that's something you can do with it, right? For demonstration purposes.
Yeah, yeah.
Bring it next time. I'd love to see it.
If I can carry it.
Yeah, yeah. Are we doing okay, folks? All right. We are up to Gina and paragraph. Was there anything else in those first two, or did you get the gist of it that the crucifixion story we've been told misses the point?
Yeah.
The point was not the crucifixion. The point was what?
The resurrection. The
Resurrection.
resurrection.
All right, beautiful. Gina, we're on paragraph 3.
The statement, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord," is a misperception by which one assigns his own evil past to God. The evil past has nothing to do with God. He did not create it, and he does not maintain it. God does not believe in retribution. His mind does not create that way. He does not hold your evil deeds against you. Is it likely that he would hold them against me? Be very sure that you recognize how utterly impossible this assumption is and how entirely it arises from projection. This kind of error is responsible for a host of related errors, including the belief that God rejected Adam and forced him out of the Garden of Eden. It is also why you may believe from time to time that I am misdirecting you. I have made every effort to use words that are almost impossible to distort, but it is always possible to twist symbols around if you wish.
Thanks, Gina. Marianne, could you do 4?
Excuse me. Sacrifice is the notion excuse me,
Sure.
totally unknown to God. It arises solely from fear, and frightened people can be vicious. Sacrificing in any way is a violation of my injunction that you should be merciful, even if your Father in heaven is merciful. It has been hard for many Christians to realize that this applies to themselves. Good teachers never terrorize their students. To terrorize is to attack, and this results in rejection of what the teacher offers. The result is learning failure.
And let's do one more, watching our time here. Frank?
Oh, we're done.
5?
I have been correctly referred to as the Lamb of God who taketh away the sins of the world. But those who represent the Lamb as blood-stained do not understand the meaning of the symbol. Correctly understood, it is a very simple symbol that speaks of my innocence. The lion and the lamb lying down together symbolize that strength and innocence are not in conflict, but naturally live in peace. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God, is another way of saying the same thing. A pure mind knows the truth, and this is its strength. It does not confuse destruction with innocence, because it associates innocence with strength, not with weakness.
So, looking at taking just a few minutes more, we still did not finish this section. A couple more paragraphs. I would ask you do this as Spirit leads for the rest of this week. But what about this idea of vengeance? It says, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord." Here, go to chapter 9 real quick. It's right on the first page of chapter 9. And that's on page 160. And so, Joan, could you just read paragraph 1? It's on page 160 in the text.
160.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got it. Paragraph 1.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The acceptance of reality. Fear of the will of God is one of the strangest beliefs the human mind has ever made. It could not possibly have occurred unless the mind were already profoundly split, making it possible for it to be afraid of what it really is. Reality cannot threaten anything except illusions, since reality can only uphold truth. The very fact that the will of God, which is what you are, is perceived as fearful, demonstrates that you are afraid of what you are. It is not then the will of God of which you are afraid, but yours.
Wow. Do you see why an atonement process is needed for salvation?
Mm-hmm.
God is love, right?
Yes.
When?
Always.
So, what is there? Do you fear love?
No,
No.
Stupid, right? But this is so radical because I've never been considered this before I got into A Course in Miracles. I mean, I'm sure there are many other paths. It's just that this is so far away from mainstream religion in the West. Like, oh, you better be good or you're going to sin. And you know what happens to sinners? They're sent
God will
to hell
strike you dead.
and it's going to burn and burn and be, and you're going to suffer forever because that's what love would do, right?
Right.
No.
You know, when I was about 10, I was introduced to all of this through my aunt, who was Baptist and very, very devout. And it just occurred to me that since then, I just have had a fear of going to churches, and I don't want to do it. It's scary to me.
Well, you always were ahead of the time, sister.
Well, I don't know about that.
At the forefront, at the leadership. Anyhow, I'm afraid that's all we can get to tonight. In fact, I appreciate your indulgence here, staying a few minutes over already. Did you have a good time?
Yes,
Yes.
I did.
Fabulous.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, I loved it. And I definitely want to get your book.
Oh, okay. It's called Earth School, why we think we're here. I think there's a link at the bottom of the agenda to check it out, Julie, when you get a chance, okay?
Okay.
Yeah,
Ju-
just click
um,
that link, it'll take you to Amazon. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I did go to Amazon, I think yesterday or the day before, and I'm like, I wanted to, I was wondering if it was on Audible, but it's not, and so I could hear part of it. But I'm so glad I came tonight. It's nice to meet everyone. I'll be back, and I definitely will buy your book.
Hey, that's
Mm.
great.
Nice.
And we're so glad to have you here. I think you'll find us to be a nice, warm, friendly, amicable, down to earth kind of Course in Miracles group. So come back as often as you can. Any other final comments for the evening?
I just would like to say, it feels good to be back with you now. I really am with you. I was too far out before, and
We had a lot going on, dear.
yeah, and I just feel relieved and light and happy
Good for you.
with the
We're happy to
situation.
hear you feel that way. It makes us
I
happy.
needed this lesson, Jim.
Good deal, Frank. Love you, man.
Thank
Love
you.
all. And
And I'm happy to be back too. So
all right.
I miss you an awful lot.
So listen, all these happy people, you ready to pay up? Or you know, I deserve some payment here. Hello.
Oh,
All right.
Oh,
All right. I work for Smiles, Julie, so you're already paying. Let me just check. All right. Remember, new spirituality. If you're not smiling, it is not spiritual, because the Son of God is sinless. He's not a filthy, miserable sinner. So start acting from what you are instead of what we've been taught. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. We've got Hilda back. And by the way, Hilda, Joni's been stepping up with our final prayer protection.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Huh?
Good to see you back.
Thank you.
And so who wants to do the prayer protect? Julie, just listen. It won't take you long to figure it out. Okay. Who wants to do the prayer of protection and that this evening? Hilda, Joan. Let's
Well,
get over
You
it.
want to do it, Hilda?
Sure, this will be like my introduction to the present, to the now.
Sounds great.
Okay,
We're ready whenever you are, dear.
okay. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. I am the light of God.
I am the
Yep.
light of
The light
God.
of God.
I am the love of God.
I am the love of God.
God.
I am the power of God.
I
I
am
am the power of God.
I am the presence of God.
I
I am the presence of God.
Therefore,
Therefore, wherever I am,
Wherever I am,
God is,
God is.
God is,
and all is well.
and
all is well.
There is nothing to fear,
There is nothing to fear.
only love. There's only love.
There is
Only love.
thing. Thank goodness.
Amen. Namaste.
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 Doesn't that thing? That's it. Thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure. I will see you next time, hopefully.
I'll talk to you tomorrow, I hope.
Oh, great. All right. Take care, my friends. I love you.
Love
Thank
you.
We love you too.
Thank you,
Bye,
Jim.
all.
Thank you.
Have a blessed week, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Love you.